doing this fine night? Did y'all notice anything different? Yeah, I got a brand new model and stuff, yeah. And this is going to be the first time with this form that I'm going to be doing my Creature of the Week. And speaking of which, greetings creatures and humans alike. I am MagiQDog, and tonight we shall be talking about... Scribble, give me just a second. Scribble. We are going to be talking about the Saratan, which unfortunately is way too big. Here we go. How's this? Can y'all see it pretty good? Alright, let me pull up my grimoire real quick. That way I'm able to talk about this fantastic creature. Now then. Oh, by the way, I might have some pronunciation issues and stuff, so I do apologize for any of that. Y'all just look on the YouTube comments whenever I load this up on YouTube. That way you can see the creature's name along with all the other stuff I'm going to be talking about. Anyways, let's get this started. The Saratan, or the Saratan, and Saratan, in some spellings, is a gigantic crab creature that lives in the seas in Arabic folktales. In Arabic stories, the Saratan is basically a crab, but one of gigantic size. It's said to be so big that its shell is mistaken for an island, and vegetation and trees grows on the back of its shell. It may also have growths and cracks which allow water to flow like a river, or have enough earth to appear with mountains and hills. But other than that, its gigantic size and island-like features on its shell is basically a crab. Now, the Saratan is told and described in multiple Arabic books and stories. Of these, the account of Al-Jihaz, an author and polymath, who talked about the Saratan with his colleagues and wrote about it in his book, Kitab al-Halawan, or the Book of Animals, as he calls it one of the greatest creations from God. It also appears, Allah in their religion. Anyways, it also appears in The Wonder of Creatures and the Marvel of Creations, written by Zakaria Al-Qarini? At least I think I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. Anyways, in all the accounts, the Saratan plays a role as a monstrous sea creature that is mistaken as an island. Sailors will dock the ship next to the island and explore the place. Once they are deep in the island and set up a campsite and start a fire, the island shakes and sinks down to the ocean. The sailors will then realize that they are on the Saratan and either rushes back to the ship to escape or drown in the sea. It is unknown why the Saratan rises to the ocean surface and pretend to be an island. Whether it could be because it would drown the men to eat them, or rest at the surface and get startled by the fire, or simply be an asshole of a crab. Whatever the case may be, they became both awe-inspiring and fearful creatures that sailors must watch out for. Now, being gigantic sea creatures, Saratans became inspirational. I am so sorry, let me do a retake on that. Being gigantic sea creatures, Saratans became inspirational creatures by people like Al-Jihaz, or Shahaz. It might be Shahaz. Like I said, pronunciation issues and stuff. In Muslim writings, they are told to be powerful creatures with great physical abilities. Of these includes the most obvious is gigantic size. Being as big as an island, it's got the giant physiology with great strength, stamina, durability, and other physical traits. Also being a giant sea creature, it can easily swim into the deep depths and use its power to drown many people easily. Saratans also got excellent camouflage, capable of easily fooling humans to believing it to be an island. And with it being a crab, it's got a powerful shell and razor claws that can easily crush ships. While there is no written weakness of the mythical Saratan, one can assume their weaknesses are the same as crabs, being their soft innards under their shells. But of course you need a powerful being like the Kraken or other gigantic sea creatures to open up their shells. And of course, if you want to say that fire could be a weakness, it could be that as well, considering the fact that fires often startle the creature and make them sink into the waters. So we could say that the soft innards and fire. Anyways, now before we continue on, I must state a fact before continuing with this. I know that some of you must have heard of the Saratan, or at least the Saratan, the one that starts with a C, like a zebra. And I know the one that knows of the Saratan wonders why I only talk about it as a giant crab. After all, there's a Saratan that's described as a gigantic whale or sea turtle. Well, I hate to break it to y'all, but those Saratans aren't real in mythology. For you see, my students, the sea turtle and whale Saratan variants aren't described in the actual Arabic tales and myths whatsoever. So how did the Saratan went from a giant crab to a giant turtle/whale? Well, that's because of misconception. Yay! Not really yay. Anyways, in the 20th century, a story writer and poet named... Oh, I'm gonna be butchering this name, am I? Shorn Louis Borges made a collection of short stories with many themes, like, for example, dreams, infinity, and mythology. Later on in 1957, 1957, he alongside another writer named Margarita Guerrero worked together to create a fictional encyclopedia type of book that's full of mythical creatures called the Book of Imaginary Beings. This book was released in 1967 and was met with praise, and I have to admit, it is creative. However, despite Borges doing diligent research on mythical and magical creatures, he fabricated and added details that aren't based on mythology. This even includes the Periton, a deer with winged creatures that supposedly live in Atlantis, as this creature seems to be made up by Borges himself. And this fabrication of mythical creatures include the Saratan, as Borges described it as a giant sea turtle/whale instead of a giant crab. So yeah, just like the werewolves, vampires, and the Wendigo that I mentioned before, the Saratan too is a victim of misconception and lies from its mythology. Give me just a second. I gotta get straightened up. There we go. Now then, although the Saratan that Borges described is a fabricated myth, he did bring the Saratan to the spotlight of modern culture. And it's because of this that the Saratan has been featured in a few forms of media and pop culture of the modern era. Of course, his books, the Book of Imaginary Beings, featured the Saratan that Borges created. And when I say created, I mean the sea turtle part/whale. And of course, in the Forgotten Realms, a campaign from D&D features the Saratan, but it's the Saratan that's a giant sea turtle. Within movies, while not entirely a Saratan, these creatures like the giant crab mutant from Love and Monsters and the giant crab that got cooked in Land of the Lost could be inspired by the Saratan. In video games, there is a Saratan in Monster Rancher, although it's a type of sea turtle-like dragon. Megamine Tinson also features another turtle-based Saratan with the face of a man. Apparently. And while I can't find any named Saratans in anime and manga, there are a few crab characters that might have been inspired by the Saratan, like a Hasumi, the giant desert crab that Luffy's group rode on in One Piece during the Alabasta arc, and Akagawa, a giant crab supporting character in Sabiku Bisco. So far, that's pretty much all the Saratan-based beings in media that I found, but there are a decent bunch. And last but not least, to wrap this up, like other giant sea beasts, the Saratan stands out in the waters due to its gigantic size, and how it is perceived by sailors, being an awe-inspiring being as a wonder to a dreaded beast that can drown a ship full of sailors. As just, it's no wonder this being that disguises itself as an island is retold from Arabic time to modern times. So if you ever find yourself out at sea near the Middle East, and stumble across an unknown island, just make sure you aren't on the back of a giant crab. And with that pretty much concludes the Saratan. So what do you think of these giant crab creatures? Do you think they are a marvelous creature? Would you like not to be on one out at sea and get drowned? Do you think that the ones that are the turtles slash whales are not as cool as the giant crab concept? Let me know in the comment section on my YouTube page. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, for the next creature of the week, which I'm gonna have to pull it up real quick, so give me just a second. Oh, this one's gonna be good. Because this one is gonna be a very vengeful spirit that's often told by the Jewish people. Huh, that's weird. I talked about the golem on my previous one, and now I'll be talking about this one in the next one. And I did not mean for that to happen. But anyways, I hope you guys are excited for the next one as I am. But anyways, for that though, we're gonna have to go on ahead and end this off. So my class, with all that out of the way, thank you all for coming on this fantastic Creature of the Week stream. I hope y'all had much fun as I did as we got to learn about the Saratan and their island disguising ways. And if you wish to see more of these, just check me out on my YouTube page. Also check me out on Twitter and Twitch as well. Which I just realized I've done that backwards, but it's the same thing. So with that, I bid this show adieu, and this class adjourn. So see you guys. So long. Bye bye. Okay, bye.